Hello and welcome. I am Stacey Thomas, author, ALS advocate, film producer, and talk show host. I'm here to motivate, educate, and entertain. Join me on YouTube every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Stacey Thomas Talk Show, where we have powerful discussions centered around health, relationship, careers, and everyday conversation. Follow me on Facebook, I am Stacey Thomas. On Instagram, Stacey Thomas Talk Show. And don't forget, I can promote you too. Email me at iamstacythomas@gmail.com. Now, it's time for the show. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. I am Stacey Thomas, your host. And tonight we have another interesting guest that we are blessed to have on this platform. I would like to introduce you to, I'm just going to say Erika. If she wants you to follow on Facebook, she'll give you her name, right? But we'll find out exactly who she is. Let's welcome her to this show. Hey, beautiful.
Hi, Stacey. Thank you for having me on. Excited to be here.
Sweetheart, thank you for coming on. It's been some years, but I remember coming to your event in North Carolina a few years ago. I see you still have that same beautiful smile, and your lips are popping.
Thank you.
I have a friend that has told me when she sees me go out in public looking rough, Stacey, if you don't do anything else, make your lips pop.
That is my mother. She is forever telling me that. That's cute. You should put some lipstick on all the time. She's like, if nothing else, put the lipstick on and make sure your hair is done.
Wow, sweetheart. So, Erika, you know what? I'm happy that you're here, and because I've always thought you were so interesting. Besides the part that you're very educated, you're an educated African American woman, which is always nice. But your titles: spiritual herbalist, ritual art facilitator, arts facilitator, ancestral technologist, death doula, or some would say, and please forgive me if that's incorrect, death companion.
Yes.
Wow. Everything seems to center around health,
Yes.
well-being, good spirit, maybe. Would that come with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tonight I want to talk to you. I'm going to take two of those things and I'm hoping you'll come back on the show. I'm going to talk to you tonight about spiritual herbalist and death doula. It's on you. Which one comes first?
They go together.
They go together.
In my opinion, they go together, yes.
They go together.
Yeah.
So let's do death doula.
Okay.
Is it also called death companion, or is that something people don't really know?
So death companion, I chose death companion because recently a friend told me that doula kind of translates into, it has its roots in the word slave, and that's what like doula means. But a lot of people have heard, well, some people, I'm not going to say a lot, have heard of the term death doula, which I actually, I feel like that fits as well. But a death companion, my own walk in being a death doula has made me get close to death and have a relationship with death and cozy up to it and get a little more comfortable with it, because we're all going to die, right? At some point, we all meet our end. And so being a companion helps me to be able to walk with it and also be able to have conversations with people who maybe have not really thought about their own mortality, or they're afraid to think about their own mortality and what that really means, and to be able to help other people also be more comfortable in our modern society that is very death averse. And people go off and they die in hospitals or in hospice or other places, not really like with the family or loved ones or their circle of care support being involved.
I love how you said that, because I will be honest with you, Erika. When I found out, to know that you are a spiritual herbalist and the other titles that you hold, but when I've heard the term death doula or death companion, my first thought, let me act like I'm about 75, 80, 90 years old living back in the day, okay?
Okay.
My mother would have said, or somebody older would have said, death doula. Was she walking people to the gate? It would scare them.
Right.
The whole thing. And that's why I thought it was important to have you on this platform. Because the very thing, when we talk about herbs, when we talk about a death doula, back in the day, excuse me, not everybody, but older African Americans, they would have said that girl over there working roots or something. But that's the ignorance. They didn't know, right? So as a death doula, death companion, let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
What were you called to do that? Did you see the need to do that? How did that come about?
So actually, during my spiritual herbalist apprenticeship that lasted for about 3 years, I started that apprenticeship back in like 2022, and graduated last year. I was sitting, we were having one of our classes. It wasn't like our main class, but it was a class with our mentor that we used to have. And she had us doing this meditation and writing prompt. And literally it was just like the ancestors like tapped me on the shoulder, but like, guess what? You're going to be a death doula. And I'm just like, not me. Not
Not
me,
you.
who is horrified of death, who does not like dead things. Like, y'all want me to be a death doula? And I
Really?
had to go and sit with that. But in that moment,
Oh, sorry,
where,
Erica. In
yeah,
that moment, you went
yeah.
off. In that
Oh,
moment, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
In
I'm
that
sorry.
moment, I heard like two of my kids upstairs. I heard my son and my husband in the other room having a conversation. And I literally, in that moment, just as like a mom and a wife, I was like, I'm going to die too. And it's one thing to know here that you're going to die mentally. Like, we all know it, right? But it's another thing to like know it in your heart that that is going to eventually happen. And I sat with it for a few months, and then I found a program online, and I was really at the end of filling out an application to a different program, and something was like, before you hit submit, because I literally was about to hit submit. I had filled out the whole thing, answered all the questions, and it was like, go on and Google Black Death Doula. And I found an article, and that's where I found a Lua author, and I found Going with Grace. And it just sent me down a rabbit hole and on a completely different trajectory. And I could not be more happy and pleased with
Wow.
that experience. And that is how I have now arrived at being a death doula.
Wow. And Ellen Presents says, thank you, Ellen. She always says she's going to come back and watch. Enjoy church, sweetheart. And question, would that be the same as those who work in hospice? Ellen, you took one of my questions, sweetheart. Now we'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay. What is the difference?
So the difference is, so people in hospice are really there to help people like to be comfortable at the end. And also they do a lot of medical things. Doulas do not do that. We are
Okay.
the emotional and spiritual support for people and their families, because it's not just for when someone is actively dying, it's also to help facilitate those conversations before someone is dying, and have people have the conversations with their family around like, or have people thinking about what is it they want the end to look like. Like, if you are in the hospital and you're hooked up to all these machines and stuff, is that something you want? Do you not want to be resuscitated? Who do you want making decisions for you if you can't make them for yourself? And just guiding people through that process to do some planning. And I even suggest that that kids in college, they don't, they think they are invincible, they're going to live forever. And
Right.
unfortunately, sometimes, right,
Right.
that doesn't always happen. And not knowing that your parents, after a certain age, if you don't have certain paperwork in place, something happened to you, your parents have no say in your care. So it's even getting those things lined up for older children, so that your parents can ensure that they can, the family has a voice and a say in your care and what happens to you if you are, for whatever reason, potentially incapacitated.
So as this companion, when does someone bring you in?
Mm-hmm.
When do they call you?
It depends on what service they want. Some people, if it's like, if you just want to do your end of life planning and you want to get your affairs in order, figuring out like what paperwork you need, what would your family need in the event that, you become an ancestor, right? You die and you move on. What is your family? What is going to make that transition easy for the ones that you left behind? Or not necessarily easy, but easier in being organized. If people know exactly what you want, if you want a funeral, if you don't want a funeral, what do you want done with your body? What do you, how would you like to be remembered and celebrated? And capturing all of that information and just collecting it and putting it somewhere so that your family has it. And also, if people just are like, look, my mom is at a certain age and she's really fearful. Can you just come and sit with her and have a conversation and talk with her so that we can start having those conversations, because she's very resistant to having those conversations? Or if people would like, and someone is actively dying, even if they are in hospice, a lot of death doulas also do work and volunteer in hospice environments to be there with people, because not everybody has loved ones that comes and sits with them or visits with them. And so it's also kind of filling that gap too, so that people, at least in my opinion, I don't think anybody should die alone unless that's what they want.
Have you ever have you ever been called to help someone that was afraid to die?
I've had conversations with people who are not necessarily like, I always feel like we're all actively dying, but not anybody that's like it's imminent, because they might have a terminal illness or, something else happening in their lives. But I found during this walk that a lot of people are really afraid of death because they're afraid of the dying process, right? And then the fact that death is just one of the greatest unknowns. And the only way that you get the answer to that, you have to literally be dying to find out. Like, what is death like? What happens when we die? And we're all going to find out at some point, right? And so
Right.
it's just having people like that control that we always want to have over everything in our lives, and just knowing that we don't. Like, it's one of those things you just have to kind of surrender to.
I don't know how, Erica, because you said something interesting a few minutes ago. You said in our head we know. Well, I'll say me. I know I'm gonna die one
Mhm.
day, right? But it's still that fear of actually doing it. Do you think that comes from maybe knowing I don't have everything in place?
Mhm.
Could having everything in place, do you think having everything in place, everything written out, do you think that would help with the fear, or the fear is just something that some people are going to have?
I think it's a yes and, because even as a death doula, I'm still scared too. I'm not as scared, right?
Right,
But I am still a little like, okay, but we don't know what happens really,
right,
So it's
right.
just, but I also have gotten, I'm okay now with the fact that I don't know, and that I
Mhm.
have no. It's almost like giving birth, right? At some point, you're in labor and you just got to surrender to the process. It's like hands off the
Right,
wheel, and it's going to be what
right.
it's going to be. And I'm approaching death in that same way. I hope that I can, as Elua often says, I hope that I can like die peacefully and gracefully, you know, at some point, and that I'm not fighting it, kicking and screaming. I hope not.
Wow. How do you help someone? How do you go and help a family? My nose never itches until I get online. I'm sorry. How do you help a family that doesn't share the same beliefs that you may have religiously, culturally? Can you do that?
Yes, because I mean, it's agnostic for me, and it's like I will be there to support in whatever ways people that we decide to work together. Like, it's really, I don't discriminate or say that, oh, I can't help, this family or be there for this family because of their religious beliefs and all of that, because, and the sum total and grand total of things, like, we all just need support in that moment.
Erica, how do you balance your life, stay happy for your family, love on your family without letting this take hold of you? How do you balance? How do you leave a person that's dying and go home and your husband wants great conversation and the kids are laughing?
Mhm. It is when you go into spaces and then you leave there, you do something that's really stressed. is taking care of yourself and really making sure that your self-care and that you take a moment. So it might just be like, I might need to just go in my room for an hour and just kind of, you know, and then go do that. But also, one would assume that being a death doula would make you sad and that you would be just, down, but you're really not, because if anything, it makes you appreciate life more and makes you really intentional about what you're doing on a day to day and moment to moment. And so you just get really more focused on what's important and truly living a full life, whatever that means for you.
Wow. And I want to ask this too, because a lot of times people go their whole life being mean. People go their whole life not knowing how to tell people they love them. Have you ever sat with someone that decided they had to make amends with the family?
I have not. A story that was shared in our training when we were going through to become deaf doulas was one of a woman who was going to make amends. She needed to make amends, and her family was just like, no. And sometimes that's the answer. Like, it's just like her family was like, nope.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
so that's also something that people have to make peace with. And it's like, and that's a conversation that I love to have with people too. It's like, we talk about, venerating our ancestors, not worshiping them, but just remembering people, right? And those who
Right.
came before us. Are
Right.
you worthy of that? Have you lived your life in a way that is worthy, that the people who are left behind want to do that for you? Do they feel compelled and called to do that because you've been that type of person? And if you haven't, to me, it's never too late, but also it's like your family's involved, right? Other people are involved. And are they willing to do that forgiveness and have that compassion and empathy and all those things for you? Or is that going to be something they're going to have to work out on their own after you're gone?
I imagine if you're in your right mind and you're dying and you want forgiveness, that probably makes it that much worse when a family member won't forgive you, because that kind of interrupts, I guess, the peaceful passing.
Or, I mean, it's just like, if that's the answer, also just in knowing that, like, that's the answer and it's okay.
And it's okay. Ooh. So I guess the last question for this is, have you ever ran up against the patient wants you there, but the wife or a family member or the husband, they don't want you there?
No, I mean, I have not had that experience yet. A lot of my work has really been centered around community conversations with people and
Okay.
creating safe space for people to even introduce the thought. Like, what is end of life planning? What does that mean? Why do I need that? Like, I'm healthy, I'm
Right.
good, I'm gonna be here, and I'm like, random things happen. Like, not to say like final
Yeah.
destination type deal, but
Yeah.
yeah, stuff happens all the time, and it's just, yeah, like
It's
at any moment.
it's a
And we
conversation, I think, because I've never met anyone in my area that does what you do, but I think it is a conversation where you or others need to come out and speak about it. And I think even more so, and I don't like to make it all about the Black community sometimes when I'm talking to people, but
Mhm.
something like what you're doing is needed in the African American community, because there's so much when it comes to paperwork, when it comes to dealing with family members, or the important things like wills, or how do you want your funeral to be, or whatever. I
Mhm.
think it's important that people know that there's someone, I say almost like a mediator, someone that's not definitely on everybody else's side, but you're brought in to help with that. We need more of you deaf companions. And now I know, don't be so afraid if someone says, Stacey, I want you to meet a deaf companion. It don't mean that she's come to take me home. I look at too many movies, Erika.
There's an entire movement, though, the deaf positive movement, because this is
Really?
something that at some point, hopefully there won't really be a need for death doulas, really, unless somebody just doesn't have people around them. Because
Right.
this is something that the family used to do, that people's circle of support and loved ones used to do this work.
Right.
And so it's going back to that tradition that we used to have in our communities and in our families.
And that's a great thing to know. That's a great thing to know. I need to put your website up. We're going to take a break for a commercial and we'll
Okay.
be right back. All right, Erica?
Okay.
Attention business owners, are you ready to turn your purpose into powerful publicity? Tune into the Business Block, Purpose to Business with Stacey Thomas every Monday at 6:30 a.m. on Cool 101.2 Pop. We spotlight entrepreneurs, change makers, and passionate business owners just like you. When you advertise, you're not just on the radio. You're featured across social media too, amplifying your brand far beyond the airwaves. Call 804-214-6241 or visit IamStaceyThomas.com to book your spot. Cool 101.2, where your passion becomes your platform.
Hello, hello. You're watching the Stacey Thomas Show, and I am here with Erika Parker-Smith. Ooh, if you didn't catch the first half, I suggest you go back and do a replay. Erika,
Yes,
I'm going to put your website up, but for those who are just joining us, we know that your title is Death Companion. Can you tell us again, why would we need to call you?
To just have your affairs in order, and also to just be okay with death and dying. And even if you still have fear, because like I said, I still have fear about it too, but we are all going to meet that end at one point or another, like just all of us or somebody close to us, whoever. Like we're all going to be there and be touched by death in some ways. And even during, we just came out of the pandemic, and it touched a lot of people's lives, and we are all always grieving. And so I like to create safe spaces for people to have the conversations, to be heard and to be seen, and to know that like they are not alone in this process and they don't have to walk this process alone.
Do you feel obligated to go to the funeral of the person that you helped?
It depends on just the family. I did help, like my very first client, that's what it was helping someone plan the memorial service for her mom, and I did attend. Yes.
You've got a calmness about you. Your voice is soothing.
Thank you.
So I can see why someone would want you there. I'm gonna put the website up. Woo, Erika.
The website is a work in progress. It will be live on August 22nd. So right now it's just a placeholder. If people want to sign up for the newsletter, when we put it out to say, hey, the website is live. So
so let's see. It's the second half. It's going to be thebrasschamber.com.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not live now, but they can go on the website and subscribe.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Now, let's get to spiritual herbalists.
Yes.
Erika, you got some deep things going on. Okay. You don't just put we have a store out in the county. They say you're going to the herb such and such. Mm-hmm. Nobody's giving the person a title. Now you got me thinking that person don't know what they're doing. But anyway, what's a herb? What's a spiritual herbalist?
So a spiritual herbalist, like there are people that are herbalists, right? And they know the plants, and they can tell you have a headache. They can tell you exactly what to take. Something going on with your stomach. They can. So spiritual herbalist is a way of life. Like this is really building relationships with the plants, with the trees, knowing not just what they're good for, but also or getting to know their personality is what we call it, like their virtues, and also building a relationship with them, because it's not just about, we can say, okay, hey, take this thing for a headache, but it's deeper than that, because the plants and the trees have so much wisdom to also teach us. and also helping us in a spiritual sense too. Because what good is it to heal the mind and the body if you haven't also healed the spirit? And so it's also about like those energetics, and not all plants are right for all people, because you might be the type of person that like, you know what, I'm really hot all the time. Okay, well then I wouldn't want to give you things like cayenne or ginger or garlic or any of these things that also have this like energetics of being hot plants. Like you might need something that's more cooling, like a peppermint or something like that. And so it's just really just going a lot deeper with the plants and looking at the plants as allies, and also as like these sentient spiritual beings, also just like us.
Wow. I want to know, Erika,
Yes.
just like us. You mean be careful the way you care for the plants? What do you mean?
So when I say just like us,
Nurture the plants, or
we've been taught like in modern society that we are separate from nature.
right?
And that even though like we talk, especially in like, I'll say in religious circles, right? How
Okay.
God created everything, and God created all, just, everything that swims in the ocean, runs across the land, everything that grows out of the earth. But somehow we don't view ourselves to also be one of those creations, right? That is on same and equal level with with everything that we cohabitate this planet with. And so it's just getting back to knowing that we are also part of nature. We are not separate from nature. We are not better than nature. We don't need to be had like this ownership or trying to control nature in that way. Nature is, we are part of it. And so it's just going back to that. And so that's why like spiritual herbalists and not just herbalists.
So why do you think, Erika, is it because of what we've been taught? Why do you think people are so afraid to lean on plants or the herbal treatments? What do you think plays a part in that? Does that make sense?
I know we do not have a lot of time, but there is an entire history of like modern medicine, and how like you hear people talk about like granny midwives and stuff like that. And I will say this from a perspective as a Black person in this country,
Okay.
and how we actually in our communities, and even before, being in other places in the diaspora, we always had people who knew the plant medicine, who knew, what exactly we needed to take, right?
Right.
And what we needed to have, whether that was like you need to fix something spiritually, or you need to fix something spiritually. I mean, physically,
Right.
like there was somebody that could help get you together. And so this is really going back to those traditions and reclaiming them and keeping them alive. There's an entire body of work. And not to say that modern medicine does not have its place, but the herbalism and plant medicine really is the tradition. I mean, there's a 2,000-year history documented of some of these plants, that people have been historical uses. And that's why we like to put that information out. Like, these are the historical ways that people, or traditional means that indigenous people and our ancestors have worked with these plants and had relationship with these plants. And so there's just a lot of wisdom in history in that. And I think people also don't realize that when you go to the doctor and they write that prescription for you, somewhere in that medicine's history, it was inspired by a plant, if not based off of a plant.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because, well, for me, and listen, I don't speak for anybody else, but for me, I've just learned that, well, I feel like without medicine, and I'm not knocking medicine because it is needed for some things, but I feel like God has already put everything on the land that we need. We just, if we know about it, we're too afraid to try it, too afraid to study it because of what we've been taught. And, when you're scared, if you don't take this medication, something's going to happen. And I think that also, I think it helps when you have a spiritual relationship. I say for me with God, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, well, I'll just use my mother as an example. medicine, and I'm not knocking medicine, okay? I take medicine, but at one time, someone had told me when she came down with ALS disease that I needed to see an herbologist.
Mm-hmm.
And I often wonder, could it have helped if we had? We found out later as she progressed with the disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you going to start a YouTube channel?
We'll see. I keep being asked that. We'll see what happens. But also I want to say, like, as an herbalist, and I'm going to speak for myself in this moment, I am not a doctor.
Right.
But it would be great if herbalists and doctors could work together, especially when people don't necessarily want the prescriptions. It's like, is there a way that like the herbalist could just be part of your care team and talk about, just that in conjunction with your doctor? Because we're not doctors. And it's like, and honestly, it's like, I'm not trying to be a doctor, but I just know from my own personal experience with this medical system in this country, how things have gone with me and what I have done for myself. And I know there's a lot that when we talk about the plants that like legally we are not allowed to say, because again, we are not doctors.
Right. But
we can educate people.
Yeah, but I like, that sounds like a great team though. To go in the doctor's office, excuse me, and you have the doctor, he's thinking this, but at the same time, he's willing to see what you say, because not everybody, like you said, wants to take medication. Now, to my surprise, I've had just a couple of people tell me that they've gone to the doctor and their doctor has told them to try something outside of medicine. That has surprised me, Erika. So there are some, and I don't know if it was a foreign doctor, African-American doctor, whatever, but that tells me that there's someone that went to medical school, but is still open-minded and maybe just thinking about where he or she came from, you know?
I mean, and it is beautiful to see that there are more and more people in the medical field that are learning herbalism. We had a doctor in our cohort with us for level 3. And we were happy to have her, loved her being there and getting her insights and hearing her opinions about things. But it really is about that spiritual piece and that emotional piece, because we are all, well, most of us, I'm going to say most of us, right, are just wrung out. And just our nervous systems are all frayed and frazzled, and people aren't sleeping, and just all kinds of things. Just, your mind is constantly going. And it's like, how do we just reconnect with nature to help with that? I mean, and there's whole studies on how just going outside, like people say, go touch grass. There is science to that. Yes, go touch some grass.
Right.
For real.
I had someone tell me, because there's a little arthritis in my hip. And I had someone tell me, Stacey, go dig a hole. And I don't know if she said red mud, I forget. She says, and sit in it. Sit in it. She says, sit in it. Me and my imagination, I got into what if there are worms in there? What if they're granddaddy long legs? Blah, blah, blah. But the thing was, I know she wasn't crazy, right? And I know she's into growing herbs and stuff. But do you know, since then, I've heard that same thing from a couple other people. Well, I never knew that.
There's something new. I that one up.
I never knew that. And she may have said red dirt. I'm not sure, Erika. So please let me know when you find out. But excuse me. She was not the first. After that, I did hear a few other people. And see, that goes back to, it's been done back in the day. And now we done got bougie, and we think we can't sit in the dirt. You know what I'm saying?
And that dirt, putting your hands in some soil and being out, like it really does something to your heart and to your skin. It absolutely does. And I have always said, like, after my dad passed, I started gardening. Didn't think I was gonna like it. Not me, who was like, I don't do manual labor and I'm not getting my hands dirty. Love gardening. It brought such a sense of peace. And
you feel closer to him?
I did feel closer to him, but also just being able to go out there and harvest stuff that you've grown. And you're eating a cucumber that you grew.
Right.
Eating tomato that you grew with your hands in your garden in the soil and it changes a lot.
It did that for me. I didn't do it this summer, but last summer I grew some squash and cucumbers and tomatoes, and it was exciting. I would get happy when it rained because I knew the squash were going to really grow,
Mhm.
right? But I remember being in the kitchen, slicing my squash, washing and slicing my squash. It was it was a great feeling knowing this is what I grew.
Mhm.
Something about it, Erica, it would make me feel so happy.
And it tastes great.
Oh, much better, much better, much
Like,
better.
I thought I didn't like raw tomatoes. Yes, I do.
You do?
I
Well,
do. When they're
sweetheart,
coming from the garden, I don't like a raw tomato from the grocery store, but I love one out of the garden.
I have realized I had an egg sandwich one day. I usually don't put tomatoes on it. Someone had some fresh tomatoes and they put a slice of tomato on it. Erica, it was so good, right? I go to the grocery store, I get a tomato, and I try to do it when I cooked my egg. It was not the same. But a garden tomato,
It's different.
it's so different. The taste is so different. With the herbs, obviously you studied and congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, do you pray over them?
I do. I do all the time. When
You
I'm
pray over them.
making things, yes, like the family knows if it's some music happening, then there is magic happening in here. Yes, absolutely.
Can you just do you have the discernment? You've prayed over your herbs. How do you keep the negative energy from a client that may not be as spiritual as you? How do you keep it from attacking your spirit or pulling from you?
That is something that we also cover as spiritual herbalists is
Okay.
taking care of and making sure that like you are good and tapped in and protected at all times so that I don't really worry about that from other people.
Wow. You've got some interesting things going on, Erica. Some very interesting things.
Thank you.
You said something. I said this was going to be for another show, but I got to ask.
Yes.
You said something about ancestors.
Yes.
Before you go,
Hmm.
what is it? How do I say this? What is it? What is it that you? What part of your ancestor? What role does it play in your life?
I go to them and I'm like, as Empress Karen, my teacher where I studied at Sacred Vibes, says to us all the time, be the reporter to your family, to your ancestors. Like they want to know what's going on too. Go and report to them, sit with them, talk to them, have a relationship with them. And I will say this anytime I've asked a question, and I sat there like, okay, whether it's to my dad or my grandmother or an aunt or whoever, just I'm like, look, y'all, I'm trying to figure this thing out. This is my question. And the answers come. The
Really?
answers come, whether it's in a dream or I end up having a conversation with somebody and they'll say something and I'm like, that's the thing I was looking for. Okay, thank you. Or somebody will randomly send me a message. It could be that they're sharing an article with me, sending me an Instagram post, and that Instagram post has a resource in it that is the thing that I'm looking for. And so it's just, yeah. So it's not worshiping them. And I know sometimes people get a little thinking that we're worshiping the
I'm
ancestors.
glad you said that.
And it's not that. It's just being grateful. Because if not for our ancestors, we would not be here. Like it's giving thanks to everybody in our lineage that came before us, whether we know their names or not. But because somebody endured, because somebody lived, because somebody loved, because somebody survived long enough for you to exist today, it's just being thankful to that. And also not just for us, but also living in a way that generations from now, knowing that the decisions that you make today are going to affect people in your lineage down the road.
Wow. And unfortunately, I don't think we have a lot of people fighting for those that are coming up. But anyways,
Right.
That's another story. That's another story. We do need to be grateful. You have an event coming up.
Yes.
What state is it in?
So it's in Massachusetts, in Springfield. It is Linger, an intentional rest salon. So we are going to do herbal foot soaks. There will be a guided meditation. So we're going to do a healing garden meditation. And it's really just to kick off the official launch of the Brass Chamber and also an introduction to the community here in Springfield, Massachusetts. But I can do these wherever. So, yes.
So someone can call you in Virginia or DC and they can book you to have you come and do this event where they are?
Absolutely.
And you said the Brass Chamber again.
Yes.
Tell us again about the Brass Chamber.
So the Brass Chamber is essentially a healing salon and sanctuary. So I was very moved and inspired by the likes of Oak Bluffs and Martha's Vineyard. I was inspired by like Highland Beach or Idlewild, all these vacation spots where we used to go during segregation. And some of them have kind of fallen off since then because of integration, but they are still places that are active and thriving and have this rich cultural history. But the thing that intrigued me most was the fact that they were places that we could go that were safe, and Black people could just go and have Black joy and be happy and just be themselves in a place that they knew was relatively safe for them. And so it's just recreating that, but with like herbs and experiential experiences. And there'll be a lot of other things coming up too for people to just kind of give people that soft intro back into what our grandmothers and great grandmothers and grandfathers and everybody was already doing. And so it's really important about like community. And I see like we have up here the New York Spiritual Herbalism Conference that is also coming up in October, and I will be teaching a workshop there as well. And just sharing the information and carrying it forward, especially in these times that we currently live in. It is so important for people to know like safe spaces and to know like community and truly building sustainable, helpful communities that offer mutual aid and community care.
Wow. So if they want to follow you, how do they follow you?
They can follow me at the Brass Chamber on Instagram. And I'm also the THE_eccentric cousin as well on Instagram.
Okay. I don't know if you sent that to me, but if you send that to me, we can put it under the comments. And for the event, when is the event and where will it be in case we have someone in your area?
Yeah, so the Linger, the Rest Salon, will be hosted at Nixie's Whimsies in Springfield, and that is 518 Main Street. So they can see this shop. It is a beautiful space, and it was created and founded by my amazing friend Onyx Burrell. And so that is her creation. And, you know, we love her. She loves things, all things whimsical and mystical. And she is all about like mermaids and fairies and just encapsulating that Black joy and also creating experiences also for people and giving the community somewhere to go and something to do.
Wow. Erika, is there anything before we go? Is there anything that I did not ask you that you really need people to know?
Yes, if people could also visit svchai.org. That is the Sacred Vibes Community Healing Initiative.
Let me put that in the comments. Okay, say that again, sweetheart.
svchi.org.
chi.org.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that is a nonprofit organization that does education. They have a rapid response team. We have the Black Herbalist Green Book so people can find Black healers and Black herbalists in any community that they're in. So if there are people that want to sign up because you are in this space and we don't know about you, we want to know about you. And also we are always looking for donors and sponsors. to help support our work, especially for this year's conference. We are definitely looking for sponsors and donors. So if your vision and mission aligns with that of Sacred Vibes, please reach out and contact us, because we really do need the funding to keep this work going and to keep being able to birth new herbalists into the world, to keep helping communities and be there for people during these times.
Wow. So Erika,
yes, ma'am.
Send Stacey forgets a lot of stuff sometime when she gets busy. Send a flyer or whatever it is that you want me to share about the organization.
Okay.
Your beautiful smile. It's been a joy having you on today.
And I appreciate you having me on today.
And I look forward to like I know you coming back. I look forward to our next conversation. All right.
Anytime.
Wishing you the very best, beautiful. Have a good one.
Thank you.
And what do they say? Don't let nobody steal your joy.
Amen.
Have a good night, sweetheart.
Good night.
Good night. Hey. What another great interview, right? So I have the website up here. Also have one of her events up here, but let me repeat again about the website. So the website has not gone live yet. However, you can go on the site and subscribe. And I'm pretty sure if you subscribe, you're going to get an alert sooner or later telling you that the website has become live. Okay. And that was Erika on Facebook. She's Erika Audacity, right? Follow her, ask about the nonprofit. If you're interested, send her a message or email her, ask her about the nonprofit, how you can be a part of it or how you can sponsor it. And as always, thank you for watching. And remember, what do I say? Let's not stress too much about yesterday or worry too much about tomorrow, because if we do, we just might miss living today. Have a great night, everybody.
Attention business owners, are you ready to turn your purpose into powerful publicity? Tune into the Business Block, Purpose to Business with Stacey Thomas, every Monday at 6:30 a.m. on Cool 101.2 Pop. We spotlight entrepreneurs, change makers, and passionate business owners just like you. When you advertise, you're not just on the radio. You're featured across social media too, amplifying your brand far beyond the airwaves. Call 804-214-6241 or visit IamStaceyThomas.com to book your spot. Cool 101.2, where your passion becomes your platform.